Hello, everyone. We are now on day 6 of our 7-day World Interspecies Communication Month challenge. We are visiting 7 continents, all of them on Earth, to visit with experts from around the world who can offer different perspectives on communicating with other species and sentient beings on our world. And all the topics have been covering different aspects of that. And I think it's kind of important to explore that topic because being so human-centric, we're always focused on our own species. And by being more aware of all the other species on this planet, and being able to communicate with them, I think it will change this world and change our existence. And that's what World Interspecies Communication Month is all about, which is happening all this month of October and every year after in October. And that is why we are having this 7-day challenge to celebrate that. So today, I'm excited to have as my guest an animal communicator originally from Argentina, South America, and she's an internationally known animal communicator. She's been one for more than 40 years. She's now living in the United States, and she's written 10 books and it's got CDs, all on animal communication. It's an incredible library of knowledge and wealth of information that she has compiled. And she's also an animal care specialist for pets and wildlife. She is a master cosmic healer, a Reiki practitioner, a guided imagery therapist, and a meditation guidance practitioner. So she's got lots of qualifications. She has tons of knowledge and experience to share with us. And today, she is going to be talking about talking with wildlife. And from her perspective, it's going to be great because she's specialized in companion animals most of her career, and yet she has also experience with wildlife, and she's going to help us kind of navigate that world and tell us what to expect and how we can communicate with wildlife. So here we go with Dr. Monica Diedrich. We welcome you today. Hello, Monica.
Hi, it's such a pleasure to be here and to be part of this just exciting October Communicating with Animals Month. Thank you for having me.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much for joining us because you're an important part of this. Somebody who's been in this field for that long, you're one of the beginners, beginning way back, the pioneers. And even today, I know you're now living in the United States, but even today in South America, there aren't that many, I don't think, of animal communicators. It hasn't progressed as much as it should have, maybe.
No, in fact, it's very interesting to know that when I say that I'm an animal communicator living in the States, people go like, can you do that? It's just such a new field that this month I had 4 or 5 interviews already in Argentinian TV.
Oh,
we are just now understanding that there is a way to communicate.
Yeah, so they're treating it like it's the latest news.
Brand new, yes.
And even in the United States, yes, it's definitely getting more popular and more people are more aware of it. But we have a long way to go. But we're doing it. But stuff like this helps a lot, especially, today we're talking about talking with wildlife. Mm-hmm. And most people who want to get into this field want to talk to their own animals, their pets, their companion animals. But wildlife is all around us. I mean, I see birds and squirrels and deer every day where I live. And wouldn't it be great to be able to communicate with all them because they have things to share with us? It's about sharing space with them and living in harmony with them and the rest of this world. So
they're saying finally we're getting it.
Right, exactly.
communicate with us. We've been here for years, and yet they are just now realizing that they
Yeah. And
actually
they probably have been trying to communicate with us for years. And boy, they are patient, aren't they?
they sure are better than us. But yes, they have been trying to communicate with us all the time. It's just
Yeah.
this is the right time, I think. This is the beginning of the right time. Imagine 40 some years ago when I first started, well, more than that actually, but when I first started, it was so foreign. No one would believe that you were able to communicate with animals. And yet now, I'm not going to say yet 50% of the population, but a good percentage of the population understand that it's able, that we're able, even though they are not able to do it.
Right,
We
right.
understand that there are some people that are able to do it. And so we have come a long, long ways from half a century ago.
That must feel good for you, seeing how far we've come. I've only been doing this for 5 years. And even then, even as an animal lover my whole life, 5 years ago, I thought, wait a minute, we all can do this? I had no clue. I thought only certain people can do it. So it's crazy to think that. So tell me, when you started, there was nobody to teach you.
No,
How
and
did?
that's so hard. Because when you have someone that you can ask a question, that you can pose a problem, it's so much easier to go forward faster.
Mhm.
So what happened to me was, I'm a city girl. I was born in a metropolitan area, and we had a summer home on the outskirts of the city. And during the first weeks of being in the summer home, we were invited next door where they had a farm. And so we would go to the farm to get eggs and milk and, things for the house. And so as I'm walking into the farm, the first thing that I see were pigs in their pens. And one mama pig had like 20 piglets. And that was the first voice that I thought I heard. Someone speaking to me. And she says, "Oh my goodness, they are so many and they are so hungry. Can you help me?" Now I'm 8 years old. And I'm saying to her, "I'm a little girl. I don't know how to help you." And that was my first conversation. And then as I went through the farm, I started conversing with other animals. And I talked to other pigs, and I talked to chickens, and I talked to a cow, and I talked to a dog. And they were all telling me about their experiences.
Oh,
The dog told me what happened the day before, and I'm just so excited because in my mind of 8, I'm saying, "Oh, well, I live in the city. Of course, I don't talk to animals in the city, but I guess everyone can talk to animals on the farm." It was just such a common thing.
yeah.
And so I was very excited. In the afternoon, all the cousins, we were quite a few cousins visiting the farm. So we sat down to tea because in Argentina we have tea like they have in England. And we are talking, and I'm excitedly telling them what happened with the animals. They're all looking at me like, I'm the weirdest thing ever. Am I telling the truth or am I telling them, a story? And I'm saying, "No, this is what happened. This is what they told me." So they began to tell me that I was crazy, that
Oh,
I belong in a crazy institution because kids do not talk to animals. And I'm
oh,
okay, but I have all this information. How can this be? So in my mind, I couldn't understand it. So the first thing that I did was shut down. I
oh.
didn't talk to anyone about what was happening. I didn't ask a grown up, God forbid. I mean, if my own cousins were telling me that I was crazy, what else could I expect?
Mhm.
And so for the next 10 years of my life, I didn't say anything to anyone. I was so traumatized by what happened.
Wow.
But the gates were open, and I was getting information all the time from any animal that was next to me. So I was convinced that there was something wrong with me. I was convinced. I couldn't ask anybody. So I came to the United States when I was 18. And as soon as I came into this country, well, a few months into it, I saw that people here were more open-minded
Mm-hmm.
than in my country. And my country is like very focused on something at that time when I was growing up. And so I went to the library and I wanted to find out, am I really crazy or is there someone else that has what I had? At that time, 1972, I could not find anybody in the library that would talk to animals or nature or anything.
Yeah, we were a long way from the internet by then. You couldn't just look somebody up like that.
No, nothing at all. So I kept looking because I don't take no for an answer very well, right? So the only thing that I found were books on mediums. And I read some of these books, and some of what they said, their explanation was kind of similar to what was happening to me, although not exactly. And so I began to feel better about the fact that, well, maybe I'm not the only one, because this is similar. And it took me even a longer amount of time to verbalize what was happening in my mind, because I kept saying the animals are talking with me. But in fact, they were not talking with me. I was receiving images in my mind, and my mind was translating automatically these images into sentences, into my language, into things that I was able to understand because it meant somehow that it was spoken, but my mind was doing the translation. Until I was able to verbalize that and to say, this is what is happening in my mind, I couldn't move forward because I was trying to say animals were talking to me. People were making fun of me. Obviously, they were saying, yeah, they're moving their lips and they're talking to you. Are they talking in English or are they talking in Spanish?
Oh, gosh.
So it took me a while to get there. But once I understood what was happening in my mind, then it kind of clicked that, yes, I could do that. It's something that maybe not everyone can do, but I can do it easily.
Yeah.
So that's how it all started.
It's such courage to keep going after all that adversity, because it's not easy when nobody else is doing what you're doing and they're making fun of you, and it's not easy to just keep going forward and doing it. Did you eventually, when did you start doing it professionally?
I started very slow. First, about 40 years ago, I had a friend that had a sick puppy, and then I had another friend that had a behavioral problem. So I didn't come out and say, your dog told me. I would say, how about if you try these? I think that this is wrong with your puppy.
Okay.
I never said they told me.
Okay.
I feel traumatized.
Yeah.
So, as soon as I got validations, then it made me feel better.
Okay.
Okay, so that's how I started a little bit at the time. And then the more people that came to me, the more validations I got, the better that I got at it. Although I do have to say that because I couldn't talk to anyone, in the beginning, I didn't know what my role was.
Oh.
If I would get information about a dog that was sick or had some kind of problem, I thought that I was responsible to fix it.
Oh.
Okay. And I didn't want anything to do with that because it wasn't my dog. It didn't belong to me. What was I supposed to do? Those were the questions that kept coming up in my mind. When it finally dawned on me that all I had to do was to become their translator and to tell their human what they were saying, everything fell in place.
Take the pressure off of you.
Yes, I knew what my life mission was.
Oh, okay.
I was to be their translator. That's it. I wasn't supposed to fix them. I wasn't supposed to change a behavior. I was supposed to tell they're a human what they were trying to tell them all along.
Mm-hmm.
So from then on, that's when I started to charge money for my services.
Okay. And you started telling people that that's what you're doing is translating?
That's right.
Okay.
I usually tell everyone, I'm going to be your animal's translator.
Okay.
I will tell you what they said. Now, in doing that, there is a great understanding, not only on the animal side, but on the human side. So they have to work together and come up with some agreement, some kind of being able to work out at the problem.
Yeah. Okay.
But when they are aware of what their animal needs, the problems almost seem to disappear overnight, because now they know what they need to do to fix their animal behavior. Or in the case of being sick, they need to know exactly where it comes from, where the pain is, how do they feel, and so take them to the vet and figure it out with a professional.
Okay. Interesting. So you've spent your whole career specializing mostly with people's animals, their companion animals, dogs, cats, probably horses, whatever people might have around the house. And you've written 10 books all on the subject for adults and for kids, which is wonderful that you have so much to say about this and to help people, enlighten them about this. You've also, today's topic is talking with wildlife. When was the first time you talk with farm animals? That's in the middle of wild and domestic, I guess. But when was the first time you actually, after speaking with, house animals, domesticated, when was the first time you spoke with a wild animal?
Well, my cousins live in Arizona, and they adopted 2 wild wolves.
Oh, wow.
Incredible. But in Arizona, you can do that. I don't think you can do this in California. So that was the first time that I spoken to wolves in a home setting, because they wanted to have them at home, not necessarily as a dog, because they understood the difference between being a wild animal and a domesticated animal. So they called them Geronimo and Cochise. There were 2 of them, 2 brothers. 98.5% wolves, I believe they were. And they bought them through a reservation, in the reservation. So that was my first time. This is probably 20, 25 years ago. And it was so important for me to talk to these animals, because you could feel, you could learn about their wild side, what they needed to do, if they were going to adapt to living with humans, what they needed from humans, which is different from, a regular dog.
Yeah.
And they were very offstandish, right? They were not like puppies that would love you and would come to you and cuddle with you.
Yeah.
And yet, every time that I would go visit, they would allow me to hug them and kiss them.
Really? Wow.
But aside from their family, I was the only one.
Oh.
I don't know if I can share my screen, but I do have a picture of one of them. This is very cute. Let me try to
Sure.
Share screen. And I would do these. I don't know. Can you see it?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So, they're asking me to share. Yeah.
We're talking today right now with Dr. Monica Diedrich and on talking with wildlife. So we're trying to get a picture of one of the first animals, wild animals she spoke with which is a wolf.
Yeah, it's not going to let me
Okay.
share the one that I wanted to because it's in a different area, but it's
Oh,
okay. Uh,
okay.
he
Well,
had me and they took a picture because they were saying he never does that to anyone. I mean, you can't even, you reach out to touch him and he'll just turn around and leave.
yeah.
It's
And
not,
it's amazing. People need to know that. I mean, it's not to say that that would happen with every wild animal, because some wild animals simply don't want to have anything to do with humans in that way. But look at the amount of understanding that you were able to create between them just by being able to communicate in this way that nobody else in that family was able to, but you were able to, and they felt a kinship with you, or a closeness that simply couldn't be there without animal communication.
to me, it was an amazing thing. And
Yeah.
from on, I realized that wild animals have the same capacity that domesticated animals have. The only problem is that when we approach a wild animal, we should not have an agenda.
I was just going to ask you that. If you went into speaking with these wolves, did you already kind of think, oh, this is what a wolf is like, and this is what I can expect to hear?
Never.
Okay.
Because I wanted to learn. Every time that I approach a wild animal, I want them to be my teachers. I want to learn from them.
Okay.
How to do things, what they feel, what they need from us. And so it was important for me to just be an open book and let them tell me what they needed. And I'll tell you a story about another wild wolf that I never met. We live in California now. We are so lucky to be living here because we are an hour away from the beach and 2 hours away from the snow in winter. So we decided to go up the mountain to the snow. And I had been talking to my husband about Geronimo and Cochise, these two wolves. Mm-hmm. And we were going up the mountains 2 hours talking about them. And halfway up the mountain, going up on a Saturday morning, I looked over to my right on the window and I see a wolf on the side of the road, which is very rare.
I know it's rare, yes.
And so I'm looking at it and he's just staring at me. We go by and in my mind, I'm going, how strange is it? Because I'm talking about wolves in my mind that another wolf comes by. I didn't retain that information because most people think of coincidences. I'm not one of those. I know that everything has a reason for being, right? So we spend the weekend there, and Sunday evening, we're coming back home. It's getting dark, almost nighttime, and I'm thinking about the wolf that I saw on the bend of the road, and I'm mentally trying to communicate with him and saying, I don't believe in coincidences, and I think that you approach the side of the road because in my mind I had it fresh that I was talking to your brothers. And would it be possible for you to just be on the side of the road again so that I know that it was something, mm-hmm. that we were on the same energy field. And I'm not going to do anything. I just want to go by and say hello to you. And wouldn't you know it, around the bend, the same place, this time on the opposite side of the road, because now I am on my window, I looked out first and I saw a couple of very bright eyes, and I told my husband, please slow down as much as you can, because I want to make sure it's the wolf. And he slows the car down, and so like in slow motion, I see it coming my way.
Wow.
Hello. And here was the same wolf.
Amazing.
So that's why no preconceived notions. I was very honest. I said, I just want to know that it wasn't a coincidence.
Yeah.
And it was there for me. And I felt so emotional about it because he answered me, it was great. It was a great experience.
Well, what in talking with wildlife, are there some really surprising things or things that surprise you with the kinds of things they'd like to talk about, or the experiences? Were there things that just kind of took you by surprise that you didn't expect?
I think that I'm always learning. If I am open-minded, I'm
Okay.
always learning. And things that society tell you is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
you talk to the wildlife and they tell you this is the way things are, it makes you understand their side of the story more. And so I started changing my mind because of things that they said. One of the most important things is that they have told me time and time again that they kill for survival. They don't kill for sport like humans.
Mm-hmm.
They kill because they need to feed, even if it is once a week. They need because they kill because they need to feed their young to
Mm-hmm.
make them strong and to continue their bloodline. So, and the way they talk about that, and the way that they said that the prey knows because they are being told that thanks to them, they're going to continue to live.
Oh, so they communicate with their prey.
And so it helps me to understand the wildlife a lot better then.
Yeah. Yeah. My next question was going to be, what's the difference between speaking with a domestic animal versus wild? It sounds like they have much different things that they want to talk about.
Well, survival is number one.
Okay. Oh, really?
It's number one. So if we allow them to be themselves and to fight to survive, then we can have a meaningful conversation. If you're trying to intrude into their life, into the way they do their things, for instance, tell them that, please do not kill the rabbit.
Okay. Yeah.
You're in my yard. It's not going to happen. They have their own instincts. They have their own survival needs. But let's turn it around. Let's say that a wild animal has been born into captivity, and how do they adjust? Would you think that that is also a good question to ask?
Yeah. It's merging two worlds that don't really go together yet. I guess they could.
So I have two stories. One story is about a wallaby. Here in California, we cannot have wildlife living with us in a home unless you have a special license for wildlife because you're doing something with wildlife.
Okay.
For instance, this lady, that is one of my clients, she has a special license because she used to go to schools to show kids about certain beings, certain animals, and one of them was a wallaby.
Okay.
So this wallaby came to her when it was a very young, 3-inch long baby. And it just so happened that I met her during a time when Annie, the wallaby, had jumped off a balcony and injured herself in such a way that she couldn't jump anymore.
Oh.
So I have a chiropractor friend, and we work together on animals because the animals will tell me where it hurts, and she will try to fix them. So we work together at the same time. So it was important for the chiropractor to know where Annie was hurting so that she could fix the spine because she could no longer jump. And so the client was telling me, Annie jumped from the balcony to downstairs, and I wasn't home. And so I'm asking Annie, why did you jump? And she got very irritated with us. And she says, I did not jump. I was on the balcony. I jumped on top of some magazines that my mom has. And the tower of magazine moved, and I fell.
Oh.
It was so cute to know that she wasn't blaming herself for jumping. She was blaming mom for being untidy, for having lots of things in the balcony that should not have been there, because she knew that Annie loved the balcony. And so it was a great story for me. We continued to talk about it. We fixed her in a couple of times. She was fixed enough so she can do small hops. And in about a period of 6 weeks, she almost recuperated completely.
Oh, that's good. It's so great to hear stories like this, because without people like you to translate, the blame gets put on the animal for doing whatever the person thinks happened, or, has that perception. So it's so important to be enlightened by this type of information.
That is so true. Of all my clients, every time a client tells me something, it is the dog's fault, it is the cat's fault, whoever's fault, is never their fault.
Yeah. Well, you said something before that I would love to know more about. So your example was if you have a pet rabbit in the backyard, and it won't really work to tell a wolf or a coyote, don't come in the yard, because it's their instinct to do that. It's part of their survival. So what would you say to a wild animal? What's a good way to approach working something out with a wild animal like that? Because we live, many of us, even in the city, we live with, it could even be a cat, a domestic cat, who's maybe, if you have birds, maybe they're preying on your birds or your mice or whatever.
Okay. So the main problem is that we have to understand we are encroaching on their domain.
Okay.
We are building homes and neighborhoods where they used to hunt. And so we're making the hunting ground smaller and smaller by the day. They have to find animals. They have to feed. They have to live. And we cannot say they're less than somebody else.
That's important in our needs. Yeah.
So we need to find a compromise, and whether the compromise is I will let you hunt there, that is your space, and I am not going to encroach in your place as long as you don't come to me. But if they can't not find prey there, they will broaden their neighborhood and they will go into yours. Mm-hmm. So it's a very, very tricky proposition. Very tricky.
Yeah.
So I cannot tell you that I have found the solution, although this is what my husband does, for instance. He would find animals that are dead. We live in a kind of a big farm, and leave it for them so that they feed, and so they don't get to our live animals.
Okay. Yeah, I live in an area where we have a lot of wild turkeys, and they roam through the neighborhoods in big families or flocks.
Right.
And they just kind of walk along and forage in the plants. And it seems like almost every day they come to our yard, like everybody else's, and pick through the soil and try to find bugs and worms. But it leaves everything that was in the planters outside on the sidewalks, and it's a huge mess every time. So I talked to them one day, and they said they were very closed to talking with me. They didn't want to speak with me. They didn't want to listen to me. And they pretty much said, everybody is just shooing them away all the time. That's all they get. They have no place. And so they're not going to listen to me either. I mean, they felt like we were not on the same side. We were just opposed to each other, and I can see that that's how they would feel, just like you said.
Yes, but they are right, because
Yeah.
all they're being asked is get away from here, get away from here.
Right.
So where do they feed? So if I were you, I would put an area with wild feed for
Yeah.
them to feed, so that they would leave your plants alone. They know that they can go to this area and
Yeah.
have something to eat.
Yeah, it's a great idea. So basically approach wild animals with, I don't know, it's just a respectful way of approaching them. It's respecting their way of life and their outlook. I mean, try to put yourself in their shoes, their position, and see how they might be feeling about a
Because
situation.
the right word, they are feeling sentient animals.
Yes, that's true.
It is not a table that might not feel the same thing as an animal. Animals feel, and so we have to understand that when we're talking to another animal, however wild that animal is, it is a sentient being, and we have to treat them with the same respect that we would like to be treated. So if you are told, don't come here, but you can go there, if you are a good human, you might go ahead and go there.
Yeah.
But it's basically the same thing. I am providing a place for you to go as long as you leave this area alone.
Yeah. And it may not work. They may still say, no, that doesn't work for me. I prefer to do what I want to do, because that's what I.
Something you can try.
Yeah.
Better than doing nothing and shooing them away constantly.
Yeah. But you had said earlier, though, your approach is usually just being open to hearing what they have to say, and that sounds like the best way to start. Like if we were to talk with the wildlife around us, or we were out on a vacation somewhere and we met wildlife and we wanted to connect with them, just be open to hearing what they have to say.
And that's important. You have to be open, because if you have preconceived ideas, your ideas will murky the waters. It's not going to let you understand what they really want and need from you. So you have to be open. And I think that one of the most important things is you have to be ready to accept whatever it is you're getting.
Right.
Most of the times we try to change the things that we get, change it to our advantage, or change it because, no, it can't be that they're saying this, but we just need to listen to them. And one good way to be open-minded and to listen to our wild animals is connect with Mother Earth. When we make a connection to Mother Earth, when we feel one and at ease with the world around us, and we stop the inner chatter that goes into our minds, and we just be there, chances of getting information from nature, from animals, is so much greater then. But you do have to try to understand that you have to let go of your notions, let go of your words, just let go, enjoy being in nature, and accept whatever nature tells you. And that's the beginning of a good communication.
Okay. Have you found that all wildlife wants to communicate with you? Like if you reached out to any number of them, do they all want to talk, or are there some that just don't want to have anything to do with you?
It depends what you want to tell them. If you agenda, if you want to say something to them, they don't want to talk to you because they don't want to listen to whatever it is you have to say. Some of them will anyway. They will answer you. They will tell you, I don't care to do that, or whatever the case might be. But some of them will just say, no, I don't care to even answer you, and they won't. But and that's what I'm saying. Be open. Don't have an agenda when you talk to wildlife. Be open to whatever they have to say. I have another um, example.
Okay.
But I went to visit a zoo, and I think that I sent you a lot of my pictures. I have pictures with lions and tigers and
Right.
elephants. And I went in with a pretty blank state because I wanted to get to know these beings that were held in in a facility. Uh, and I went into the tiger's cage. It was a huge cage. Now this tiger, it was a lion. This
Oh,
lion was about 3 years old when I went in to visit with him, and he had been raised in captivity since he was a little baby cub, and all he knew was humans. So he was very into humans. He was very nice to humans, and I was supposed to go in, take a picture with him, and leave. That was the thing. There was a lot of people in line doing that. So I go in, and mentally I connect with him to ask him if he was okay, if he was happy, if he was treated fine, if there was anything that he wanted. And I do it so automatically that I didn't realize what was happening until later. My husband was taping me. And so I'm talking to him, and he is supposed to be looking forward, and I'm supposed to be right next to him. And so he kept looking at me. The trainer that was there got really upset at the fact that he kept turning his head. And I didn't realize we were talking, we were communicating. He was talking to me about his life. I didn't realize he was moving his head. And so the trainer looks at me and he says, "What do you have on you? You have something shiny."
oh
He's
gosh.
very interested in what you have. I said, "I have nothing. Today I'm wearing this, but I had nothing." And I keep telling him, "I have nothing. We're communicating." Well, it just went over his head. He didn't realize what I was saying. And he was very upset at the fact that he couldn't control him. And all of a sudden, I saw his face change, and he got really white, and he says, "Don't move. His dad is coming over to check you out." Now, I didn't realize that, but his father, a 10-year-old lion, was way, way behind in the cave, and he had come all the way from the back to the front to see what was going on because I was communicating. And so he comes in, the guy is livid, he's telling me not to move a muscle. The other lion comes behind me, brushes against me, comes around me, goes to the front, licks his son on his face, and lays in front of me.
Oh wow.
And the guy he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to tell me to do. He's just so upset because this is the first time it ever happens to him that I have two lions now instead of one. And he doesn't want me to move. So we are at a standstill. He wants me to stay there still, but he has 100 people more that they need to help. It was a riot for me. But I keep telling him, "It's okay. We're communicating. We're fine. It's okay." But he couldn't get it. So all the story just to tell you that even wild animals are able to communicate with us, even if they were trained or born in captivity. They still have that wild thing that you need to respect, you need to understand, and you need to just be open and go along with it.
Okay.
So
And it's you communicate in the exact same way that you would with a dog or a cat?
I do, except that I have to be a little bit more patient because the pictures do not come that fast. It's almost like they're saying, "Whoa, what is this? Can you
Oh,
tell me what is going on?" And so, yeah, I have to make sure that they understand that they're getting my images and that I expect to see their images in return. But it's basically the same process. It just might take a little bit longer.
So you're saying that they're not used to talking with humans, and it's a new thing for them. So it takes a little while to get used to the fact that you are communicating with them. And so
that's right. Because when we are living with a pet, the pet is always trying to communicate with you. You just, your circuits are busy and nothing is getting through to you, but they're trying to communicate with you. With wildlife, it's a little bit different. They don't trust humans necessarily. And when a human is sending them an image, I want to communicate with you. And what's more, I expect you to communicate with me. It's like they go, oh, is this for real? Are we doing this? Can you understand what I'm sending you? So it takes them a little while.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily you didn't get a message from the lion that you were the prey.
No.
Because I don't know what you would have answered there.
They were really upset about it. They thought that I would be prey. I mean, the trainer thought that I would be prey. No, the lions were just fine, and they were thrilled at the fact that I was there and I was listening to them. And actually, most people would want to know, they were happy. It wasn't like you would think, and most activists will think that all animals need to be free.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they were completely comfortable and agreeable and happy. And they were not even calling it what they were doing. They were not calling that a job. A job was taking photograph with humans. Right. Actually teaching humans a new side of wildlife.
Oh,
it's surprised so much.
Another reason why, just to be open to hearing and not put our own ideas on them.
Because you cannot put a blanket feeling for everyone. Humans, we are all different. When one person likes, another person does not like. And so I want people to understand that animals are the same and they have the same likes and dislikes. And we should not put a blanket statement on all animals. And I understand the activists that say that animals need to be free because we're born to be free.
Right.
That is correct. But there are some animals that love to be in the company of humans. Take, for instance, cats. Cats have been with us for eons, and they are very independent beings. They are cats that, even though you want to have them in your home with you and provide for them, give them a home, give something to eat, a warm place to be, they would cry at the door and ask to be let out. Their wild side is stronger and they need to be out in nature. And then you have another one that you can have the door open every day from morning till night, and that cat is never going to even get close to the door. Okay. So what does that tell you? We're individuals. They are individuals. They're different. One might feel one way, the other one might feel the exact opposite. Mm-hmm. So why can't it be the same for wild animals?
That's true. Yeah, I could see where that could be absolutely true. Let everyone out there, if you have any questions, definitely ask them below, and we will be getting to them shortly. I think maybe, Monica, you have some tips for people. Maybe we can go through some of those, and then we'll come back and see if anybody has any questions.
Absolutely.
Okay. So these are tips on specifically connecting with wildlife?
Of course, it's for wildlife because that's what we're talking now, but I think that it will serve everyone, whether it's for wildlife or for domesticated animals.
Okay.
So when you talk to an animal, I want you to be specific. If you are vague, especially talking to a wild animal, you might not get anything. You might not get what you're looking for. So try to be specific. By being specific, it doesn't mean that you have to um, talk for half an hour about one subject. It just means that if you want to figure out an answer to a question that you have to try to be specific in asking the question and specific in sending the right image. And so if you can get a specific question, chances are you will get a very specific answers. All animals, whether they are wild or domesticated, they want to be our teachers. They want to teach us their ways, their thoughts, their feelings. And so this is fairly easy, but most people have a problem being specific. And another thing, aside from being specific, but on the same vein, is that no animal, whether it's domesticated or wild, understands what we humans call a joke.
Oh,
They have no concept of what a joke is. So be very careful when you want a specific answer.
okay. Can you give an example of what might be something that's not as specific as it needs to be, and then how you might fix that?
Okay, I have to think about this. Um, let's take a coyote. You know, my area is full of coyotes. And you want to tell the coyote that you don't want the coyote in your yard because you have pets and you don't want him to be around your pets. Well, I would be very specific in explaining that the reason why you're asking, not telling, asking him not to climb the fence and be in your yard is because you love your pets as if we're an extension of yourself. They're part of the family, and that you want to keep them safe.
Okay.
And so I would not say, don't you come into my yard. I want to give them an explanation,
Okay.
more specific as to why I'm asking you to do these and maybe find your prey someone else outside my yard. Okay.
The neighbor's yard, you mean?
Not necessarily the neighbor's yard, no, but outside, outside my yard. More or less something like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a good tip.
So let's go to number 2.
Okay.
Be honest. Why you need to talk to them? Is there a reason that you need to talk to wildlife, or you just want to see if you can do it? You know, chances are you're not going to get an answer. But if you say something like, I want to learn from you. Is there something that you can teach me? What can I do to be a better human for you, or a better human for this world? Chances are you will get an answer.
Okay. So, yeah. Do you find that they really do want to teach like that?
They all want to teach. Even to tell you, you have to maintain this much distance between me and you, otherwise I will get very upset at you. Okay. You make me nervous when you are carrying a stick, or whatever it is, but you will definitely
okay. What about complimenting them on things? Do they like that?
Complimenting them on things
like, you're so beautiful, or I love your coloring, or whatever.
It's a very interesting question, because I have not done that with wildlife per se, but I have done it with domesticated animals, and they actually really know what it is to be beautiful. That
Oh,
was a surprise to me because I didn't know that they had a concept of beauty, but they do. They absolutely do. So if you're honest about what you're saying, I think it'll be great to tell them that you admire them and that you think they are just a beautiful being. It's always nice to hear that someone appreciates you.
yeah, I think so. Okay. Oh, no, that's another great tip.
So be respectful. What do I mean by being respectful? Is that you have to understand their nature. We talked about this before. They kill to eat and feed their young, not as a sport like humans do. They also defend their territory when they feel threatened. So the first thing you can do is to start, on the road to direct communication with animals is to discard any condescending attitude that
Oh,
animals are lower, they're less evolved, or less intelligent beings. So this kind of attitude just simply blocks true communication with animals, just as it does with humans. Nobody likes to be condescending. So regarding animals, you need to do it with respect, with openness as a potential teacher. And this alone will enable you to observe them with a fresh light,
mhm.
open up just a world of information for them about
Mm,
who they are, about what they need from you.
mhm,
Very important.
mm. Great. Yeah, I can see that too. I know some animals people look at differently. I would assume that most, if not all, learners or animal communicators are going to be respectful already because they're
As,
open to that. But I say that, but then I've had actually years ago I had a reading by an animal communicator, well known, and I don't know how respectful she was to my dog. She called her a dumb blonde because she wasn't getting the kind of depth of answers or whatever that she was looking for. Which I kind of thought that's that's not really nice to hear, and nobody wants to hear that. So I think people be respectful. I think it's a good reminder for any of us just to keep that in mind.
I can't talk about what she was doing, but maybe she was trying to put a common expression into, what she was feeling from
It's
from.
possible, but still, it's not the best term to use, no matter what you're trying to do. And nobody wants to hear that, whether it's a human being called a dumb blonde or it's a joke about it. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
I understand, and I want to make a comment about being respectful to all beings, because I think I was talking to you about this just before the program started, and I started watching a documentary yesterday on Netflix that is called My Octopus Teacher, and it's about the journey that a man had when he was diving. He met an octopus, and then he continued to go in to pursue this encounter every single day. I stopped halfway, so I am at the 9 months mark
Oh wow, 9 months.
every day. And the things that he learned and the respect that he had for this octopus.
Mhm.
I encourage people to see that if they in any way like to learn about sea creatures. I
Yeah.
think it's a wonderful movie about finding yourself and finding respect for others.
Yeah, and he wasn't even an animal communicator. He just found a way to have a great relationship with an animal and be respectful of.
That's right. He didn't even like animals in general. So what a teacher this
Yeah.
became.
Oh, yeah. Well, um, let's see if there's any questions. Well, let's see. Claire is saying, I loved hearing your story. Thank you. I've actually found that a lot of domestic animals here like to joke. I teach children and they are often laughing out loud about what the animals are telling them. Have you found that wild animals ever have a sense of humor? I don't know, Claire, I don't know if you asked that before. Probably you asked that before Monica had mentioned that they don't understand jokes in the wild, but what do you think, Monica?
Well, I agree with Claire.
Yeah.
Many domesticated animals have a lot of sense of humor. I laugh all the time, the way they say things, and how they say it. I happen to sometimes get their personalities, and with their personalities, their attitude and how they talk back with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're a riot. In the wild, I don't get that. I don't get that they understand when we joke. They are very straight and forward.
Okay.
This is what life is and what is meant to be.
Okay. So very instinctual, and they don't have a reference really to what living amongst humans. It's a much different thing because we're so full of personality and character in a much different way.
We're very colorful, yes, and they don't really get that because you have to remember that most of their life is about surviving.
Yes.
That's all they do. They get up in the morning. Yeah. How am I going to feed my kids today? I have to go hunting.
And it's interesting talking about this because our animals, the companion animals who do, and I've also found that they do have senses of humor. A lot of them are very funny, but it's possible that they have developed that, or they have it specifically because they're living with us, and we need it. We need to see the lighter side of life more than anybody on this earth, and maybe that's why they bring it to us in that way.
I really believe so, because there are so many animals that tell me my mission in life is to make my human happy. Around, I'm happy when they're laughing, I'm happy when they're interacting with me. So they understand that when we laugh, humans laugh or smile, they're doing a good job. They're participating in how we feel and the energy that we put out.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's see, there's a question from Rosie. How do I tell the wildlife to hide or come close to be safe through hunting season? Can I put the imagine of the hunter in my head for them to be careful to hide from? Good question. I wonder about that too.
To be careful or hide from. Rosie, you're a beautiful being. Thank you for taking care of our wildlife. Yes, I would definitely do that. When I talk to any animal about a dangerous situation that I want them to be aware or to change a behavior and help them, is I try to think of the worst possible scenario that can happen to them and tell them, in order to avoid this, you have to hide, or you have to do this, or you have to stay home, and you can't go rushing through an open door, whatever the case might be. So I think it would be fantastic if you can make in your head that image that you're proposing of a hunter with a rifle, the sound of the rifle being fired, hitting them, the pain, laying on the side, unable to move. And then you change the picture and you said, if you see that hunter, then you have to either hide or rush out of there. I think it's fantastic. I hope you can do it. Thank you for that, Rose.
Yeah, that is something I often think about, because I hate the season, the hunting season. Okay, great question and great answer. Anybody else have any other questions out there before we wrap things up? if you do, please do leave them below and we'll get to them. So Monica, you have, as I mentioned, 10 different books and CDs, which is incredible because, I mean, you wouldn't think there'd be that much to say, but I know you've taken different angles on things. And,
This is so funny because I have thousands and thousands of clients. I mean, people have to wait for a long time to get to me. But so when I started out, my first book was in,
there we go.
2000, What Your Animals Tell Me. And I wrote this little book, 200 pages, and I go, I did it. I said it all. I don't have anything else to write. So in the meantime, right, I wrote three more books.
Oh,
and just this year, I wrote this book.
Your pet called.
564 pages.
Wow.
And I'm not even close to writing about everything that I know. But when I realized there were 564 pages, I said, no, this is impossible. How did I write so much?
Yeah.
Because each day that I have communications with animals, there are so many important things to talk about that it's very difficult for me to pick one or two because they're all so wonderful. And yet I only write about wow moments. I call them wow moments because just like you said before, if a communicator tells you something that only you and the animal knew, that's a wow moment.
Uh-huh. Okay. So are your books, do you have your clients in mind when you wrote them, or are they for how to do it yourself, or just are they just made to inspire others or to make them aware that this is possible? What kinds of things do you write about?
I write about things that about communications that I got from and they so diverse and so different things that they tell you, funny, sad, enlightening, and I talk about a lot of spirit communication and how deep the information that comes through is, how many things they are trying to teach us, and the effect that all those communications have on people's lives. And so, like I said, it was very hard to pick the ones that I picked, which are over 70 stories. And I still have so many more that, I didn't get to write about them. When you read these books, you start to understand the diversity of what animals are saying and how important it is for us to just listen and learn about what they say.
Yeah. What a gift that you've given people by putting this out there so that they can finally realize that this is possible and it's a real thing. Are any of your books translated into other languages?
Yes, I have. The first book is translated into Spanish, Japanese, Croatian, Serbian, and a couple of more that I can't remember.
Great.
Translated into Spanish.
That's so important. We're in the US, we're just very, very focused on English, and we think that's all we need in this life. But it's a lot of these other countries really need access to this type of stuff. And if anybody wanted, so they can go to your website right here, petcommunicator.com, and your books are all listed there, and probably have links to purchase. Are you offering any workshops right now to help learners?
Yes, right now I'm on my third week of Principles of Animal Communication, which is the basic course, but it's in Spanish. But I offer online courses through a platform called Teachable, and it's on my website. So take a look at TED Talks Academy within my website, and you'll see all all the online.
Okay. Do you often offer in English as well as Spanish?
That's right. They're in both languages.
That's
Correct.
good to know, because I know I've heard a lot of people wondering about how to find a class or a workshop in Spanish, and I never know what to tell them. So
Now
good.
you do.
Let's see if there's any last comments or questions. Well, Rosie has a follow-up comment. Let's see. So she says if she knows the hunters are close, she plays her drum. She doesn't know if it helps.
The Maranto was a hunter, but wished to the hunter off. Also, don't know if it's good or not. And thank you so much for your help. Animals are very good at hearing, and especially some of the wild animals that are hunted, they do very well at hearing. But you have to be careful, because sometimes if a hunter is closer to them than you are to them, you are not allowing them to hear the hunter walk, or if they step on a branch, because they need to hear that. So it's not a bad idea to do your drum, but it just depends, where.
Yeah, I can see that, because hearing out there is very, very important to them, and they need every little detail. It's a big thing. So I would say, even if you don't feel like you're an animal communicator yet, I would still try it and do it. Try to communicate, because they will likely still hear it, even if you don't feel like you're getting through to them.
Absolutely. And animals in the wild, we have to remember that they are used to the sounds of, their habitat. So when we introduce a new sound there, we throw them off.
Yeah.
So it might not always be such a good idea. Okay.
Rosie also is asking if any of your books are on audio.
No. So long that it will take you 2 weeks to get through to them. But I'm always looking into doing that, but they're not available on audio right now. Sorry, Rose.
Okay. Well, good old-fashioned reading. It's still good.
Right. It's always good.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't see any other questions right now, but I just love talking with you today, Monica. This was so enlightening. It was such a good bridge from our companion animals to the wild animals, who we all interact with them at some point in life, whether it's deep in the forest or just at a park. And to better understand them through your eyes and your expertise, and to just know how to interact with them a little better, it really is very helpful.
I'm glad I was here to help. Thank you, Josh, for having me.
You're welcome. Yeah, have a good day, everybody. And remember, this is World Interspecies Communication Month, all October, every October, until every animal and every species has a voice. That's what we're working for, and that's what we're all doing with animal communication. So go out there and do your thing, and we'll make this world a better place.
That's
Okay.
Right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.